Boldwood presents Girls Gone Rogue, written by Joe Lyons and read by Anna Foster. For Lindsay, inspirational, courageous, fabulous. Chapter 1. Falling head over heels in love has been like someone throwing surgical gloves at me, out of the blue, expecting me to try my hand at a kidney transplant. It's exhilarating and nerve-wracking at the same time. But I'm giving it my best go because Matteo is the most excessively attractive man I've ever laid eyes on. And it's essential that I make a decent impression before he realises that I'm not naturally good at this. Be casual, Connie Cooper. Be cool. You know what they say about watching people whilst they sleep, Matteo says, opening one eye. I'm sharing his pillow and borderline stalking him with my face. A giggle escapes from my lips. I'll never tire of waking up next to this dreamboat. Stop making it sound weird. I've only been watching you for the last 2.5 hours. Matteo laughs gently as he places a light kiss on my lips. What a week, I say, sighing blissfully. It seems like only yesterday I was spilling scalding hot coffee on his crotch, and it's been nothing short of a wild roller coaster. This whole week in Benidorm has flown by, and I hope he feels the same. Matteo frowns playfully, as though this has been the longest week in living memory. I thought it would never end. Not exactly what a loved-up woman wants to hear, although he has a point. I have developed an unattractive habit of bringing chaos to his otherwise calm and ordered life, and I'm gutted that we've only just discovered each other and are being forced apart so soon. But it is very early days. I must not appear too insecure or needy, just because I'm going to miss literally everything about him. Everything. I give him big cow eyes, causing him to smile back at me. He's smitten with me. It's written all over his lovely face. I can't believe you're leaving for LA, I say, stroking his cheek whilst I admire the strong line of his jaw, the dark stubble on his chin, the kissable lips. He is literally the Oxford Dictionary definition of gorgeous. 3 months is such a long time to be away. I can't believe you're flying back to the UK today, he says, a trace of sadness in his voice. But it's great that you get to tour with the Royal Northern Symphonia. That's a huge deal. I'm going to miss you singing cheap covers in voices, though, he jokes softly. He's trying to hide how unfair the timing feels for us. It won't be the same without you. I should hope not, poor man. So far, I have broken his phone, given him a black eye, and almost ruined his business, all by accident. My week-long marathon of incredible personal growth and off-the-scale sexual awakening has been really tough on him, and to be fair, he's seen sides of me that not even I was aware of. I love that he has faith in me to sing classical music with a world-class orchestra, and I love that he's going to miss me, and I walk my fingers up his bare chest. I'm really going to miss your expert approach to successful leadership, fiscal planning, and dealing with the emergency services. None of us are going to forget that yacht fire in a hurry, or the way he took charge when he handcuffed me against his will, whilst in the middle of running a huge music festival, or indeed the way he proved himself to be the manliest of men when he politely pretended not to hear me yelling angrily at the universe, sobbing hysterically in the shower, or demonstrating quite the unprofessional flop several times before going on stage. I hope that's not all you're going to miss, Cenicienta, he says, giving me a look that sends a delicious shiver straight through me. I have fallen very hard and very fast for this glorious man, and this Cinderella nickname seems to be sticking. But I really don't mind, because it's how I feel, elated and joyful and bursting with desire. Well, let me give you something to remember me by. I've also recently discovered that I can be nothing short of a brazen hussy when I'm with him. His eyes widen with desire, filling me with immediate delight. I've never considered myself sexy, but he effortlessly brings out in me with a simple look, a simple smile. I chew my lip, slide the cover slowly from his body, and take my time deciding how to drive him wild with passion. I trail my fingers lazily down his chest and hear his breath catch as they circle his lower abdomen. He closes his eyes and presses his head into the pillow, a low groan escaping from his lips. I find his attraction to me intoxicating. How are we meant to survive without each other for 3 whole months? A surprisingly short while later, Matteo can barely speak coherently. I should insist on a performance review with me being so new to it all, but so far, sex with me seems to be going very well. He's staring up at the ceiling as though in an artificially induced coma. I poke him to make sure I haven't done any lasting damage. "What did you just do?" he whispers, which sends a wave of tingles up my spine. That was incredible. He gets out of bed and promptly trips over the rug. Christ, my legs feel like jelly. Is that a good thing? I ask, beaming happily at him. He fixes me with a terrifyingly sexy look as he slowly nods his head. Oh my. My phone pings, and it's my best friends and live-in housemates cum therapist Jed and Liam, who rushed here to Benidorm a couple of days ago to support my rather huge and, as it turned out, completely unnecessary meltdown over Matteo being engaged to be married, which he isn't. Luckily, the whole misunderstanding was cleared up, and Jed and Liam are more than delighted to be staying in my luxurious room over at the villa with the Dollz. Which means more privacy for me and Matteo in my newly acquired apartment above voices. I decide not to read the messages in favour of following him into the shower cubicle. I press up against him and trace the line of his shoulders and arms with my fingers, and it sends a shiver through him, causing his lips to part. He studies me silently, his eyes telling me everything, and he wants me, and I want him. He inhales sharply, causing me to instinctively press my hips against him even more. We're insatiable for each other. As the water cascades gently down, he reaches out to brush the hair from my face. He strokes my lips with his thumb before trailing the back of his fingers down my neck, down to graze the outside of my breast. It sends a pulse of electricity right to my toes, and he slips his hands beneath my bottom and gently lifts me up to straddle his waist as though I weigh nothing at all. His eyes blaze into mine as I gently rock against him, our bodies slick with soapy suds, and he keeps one hand on the shower wall to steady himself as he expertly cups me with the other. Our kiss deepens as his tongue slides into my mouth, causing me to moan loudly. I tangle my fingers in his hair, kissing him back with a passion I have never felt before for any man in my entire life, and the chemistry between us is crazy. My head is spinning as all too soon we are free falling over the edge into shuddering ecstasy, and we have all of 2 seconds to revel in this delicious miracle before we are interrupted. Beep, beep, beep! Oh no, that's the minibus, I wail, pulling my mouth away from his. Trust the Dollz and Jed and Liam to be punctual for once. It must be time to go to the airport. I feel an overwhelming melancholy sweep through me, whilst Matteo is quicker to snap out of his loved-up haze as we untwine our soapy limbs. "It's not for long," he says in a soothing voice. "We can FaceTime every single day if you want." I nod. He's such a busy man, though. I know for a fact that he's gone to extreme lengths just to fit me in as it is. He won't be able to keep his promise, but I appreciate the gesture. As I reach behind me to turn off the water, Matteo grabs a towel and wraps it around me. I should broach the delicate subject of labelling our relationship. He's jetting off to LA for a few months to work and to be bossy and successful, and I am desperate for some understanding around being exclusive, even though we've essentially just met. If it were down to me, I'm sure I'd marry him this afternoon round the back of the bins, but seeing as I'm technically the rebound after his dreadful ex cheated on him, I'd like to know his view on it all. Only a few days ago, he made it abundantly clear that he's not looking to rush headlong into a relationship, seeing he's so fresh out of such long-term commitment and painful split. I look up into his dark, kind eyes and instantly melt. I can feel every emotion running through him, as though he's trying to transfer them to me, and I want to savour this memory forever. "I'll miss you," is all I can manage. Beep, beep, beep. Christ almighty. I need to get a move on. We throw our clothes on and grab the cases, all but hurling them down the stairs in a hurry to get outside. Georges, the bus driver, gives us a nod of acknowledgement. My support band and best friends are all scattered around waiting. They're all nearly smoking cigarettes or vaping and getting some last-minute sun on their faces. This is no time to have the exclusivity discussion. It will have to wait. Connie, babes, bellows Tash. You've got that top on inside out. Look at the state of that bird's nest at the back of your hair pit. I think we all know what you two randy sods have been up to. She cups her hands and bounces my imaginary head up and down on her groin as though she's getting the world's most vigorous blowjob. She gives Matteo a huge wink, expertly emphasised by her massive eyelashes, thick, black coal lining her eyes like an Egyptian queen. It's so unnecessary. My cheeks flame and I can barely look Matteo in the eye. He'll hate that. Bounce, bounce, bounce. Oh, my word. It's as though she was in the room watching. The Dollz burst into husky cackles as they stub out their ciggies and pile back onto the bus. You can tell us all the sordid details on the way to the airport. We're really friggin' late now, complains Liberty. Matteo rolls his eyes and swoops me into a quick embrace. We'll see each other soon. Put her down, yells Cherry from the window. And don't forget, Mr. Fancy Pants, you've invited us all to LA for a VIP experience. He's looking momentarily startled. Did I? All I can do is shrug. Cherry has a gift for remembering conversations verbatim. OK, sure, he says with a resigned sigh, which only lends him an endearing quality. Whatever. A huge cheer comes from the bus. Poor man. He'll probably live to regret that. I hope for his sake it never happens. The Dollz have really tested his patience this week, and besides, it was just me he was inviting, not my entire entourage. I'm sure they more or less invited themselves. I give him a final kiss goodbye with tears in my eyes, and I tell him that I will miss him terribly. As we hurtle towards the airport in George's rickety little minibus, I reflect on my week in Spain. This has been the best trip of my entire life, and it's all happened so fast. 1 minute I'm being sacked from my regular singing gig after being too miserable to perform anything other than tear-jerking ballads since my mother passed away. The next minute, my agent Nancy rings me with a chance for me to redeem myself, and I'm being flown to Benidorm to sing cheap covers to a sea of bald heads at Voices. I meet the Dollz, my insane but extremely talented support band. I fall head over heels in love with Matteo, and to top it all, when I least expect it, the Royal Northern Symphonia finally accepted me into their organisation after years of failed auditions. I cannot believe we'll be flying back out here in 2 weeks, says Tash. Oh, it's a good job me boss fancies me. Otherwise, if he didn't give me so many holidays off work, I'd be telling him to shove it. As support bands go, the Dollz might be a bloody nightmare to work with, but I've grown to love and adore every single one of them. Even Cherry and Tash, who are the scariest Geordie women on earth. Liberty, Mandeep, or Big Mand as she likes to go by, and Big Sue nod in agreement. They're nothing if not committed to their part-time singing careers. We're so jealous, says Liam. We've absolutely loved Benidorm. Feels like our spiritual home. Oh, we're thinking we might even get married out here, Jed butts in. This is news to me. How romantic, gushes Tash. Are you thinking Sticky Vicky to officiate on top of one of the skyscrapers? Liam is quick to respond. We haven't reached that stage of planning yet. Are you having a stag do first though, yeah? She asks, leaning towards them, as though she's suddenly become their unofficial wedding planner. Jed shakes his head. That sounds too animal cruelty or whatever. We're having a PMS. PMS? Pre-moon spree, Liam says, his eyes lighting up. It's our pre-moon, like a mini-moon before a honeymoon, but even more exciting and lavish. Of course. Why ever not? Are you sure that's how you want to describe it? I say cautiously, visualising the invitations. We'll have a full week of PMS. It's like he can't hear himself. Well, you'll all be wanting all the necessary glitz and glamour required to see off your single years in style, says Big Man, nodding. Who wouldn't? Of course, they will need an opulent spree of Mariah Carey proportions. And Connie, we'd like you to be our best woman, says Liam theatrically, throwing his arms wide. Oh my heart leaps in my chest. I lean over to hug them, squealing, Of course I will. I'm so full of joy I think I'll burst. I just love them both so much. We've seen each other through the best of times and the worst of times, announces Liam, looking lovingly at Jed. This is true. None of us will forget Jed's flirtation with lip fillers in a hurry. Liam sweeps his gaze around the dolls, and obviously you fabulous divas will all be invited. This causes an instant avalanche of excitement. We do love a good stag do, Cherry yells. It'll be wild. Oh, we'll do our hot garbage routine, joins in Liberty. That always draws attention. Cherry, you do the outfits, love. Something'll slay, Tash says, her eyes wide. We need to go viral, babes. We'll have a group meeting pronto to coordinate all the socials and get a proper strategy organised, Big Sue says, nodding to Big Mand, who turns beaming to Jed and Liam. Drop us the MO ASAP, you two lovebirds. Won't know what's hit ya. Suddenly, the pre-moon is becoming all about the dolls. I risk a glance at Jed and Liam's alarmed expressions. Oh, sodding hell. Chapter 2. A week later, and I'm settled back home in Newcastle, and the Benidorm trip already seems like a world away. The Symphonia tour starts tomorrow. I spent days shopping for gowns to wear on stage, and my credit card is groaning under the weight of the expense. I even did some financial planning, and it looks like, what with all the expense of travelling back and forth, juggling my singing jobs, I can retire at 97 and live comfortably for about 11 minutes without having to worry. Liam snaps me from my thoughts. Connie, love, you've got that haunted look again. Can you stop thinking about Matteo for 2 minutes whilst we get through this Symphonia rehearsal? I'm sure there's a good reason why he hasn't called you yet today. He's like 9 hours behind or something, he says, misinterpreting my expression. Besides, Jed and I are in the middle of some very important couples vision boarding for our wedding, and he's waiting for me to decide on what colour bridesmaids' dresses we want for the horses, coral or sage green. It's all incredibly stressful. Yes, sure, sorry. I'll start again from the top, I say, restarting the backing music as I open my mouth to sing. And now that he's mentioned Matteo not ringing, he's given me something else to worry about alongside my poor finances and learning to ride a dressage horse in time for their wedding. Louder, babe, from the heart, Liam says, as though he's directing me in a Netflix movie. Let the audience get their hands on a piece of the real you, not the wooden you. You're not half tree. I'm thinking, use your arms more. Wave them around as if you're juggling very slowly. That's what all these opera singers seem to do. Just try to relax. Relax. 2,000 sceptical opera lovers are turning out to see who the Symphonia have replaced their much-loved singer with. I snap anxiously. You try being relaxed about it. Liam raises an eyebrow at me. Imagine you're floating in the clouds on a magical singing breeze, he says, waving his wand. Your voice is like a gust of wind wafting through the audience, light and ethereal. I try again, but my throat sounds dry and scratchy. All the excessive drinking, people everywhere smoking, and me bawling my eyes out unnecessarily on numerous occasions in Benidorm have taken their toll. The living room door opens. Are we role-playing? Says Jed, eyeing Liam's wand and cape jokingly. He flicks his gaze over to me. If so, I'd like to play the part of customer demanding a full refund. Very funny, I say, smoothing down the tight bodice of my gown. I ruffle out the heavy velvet ruched skirt to hide my bare feet, and it feels like I'm wearing my own body weight in silk taffeta and sequins. Jed blows me a kiss before turning to his fiancée. Liam, darling, is that my dragon's heartstring wand you're using as a baton? Because you know it'll only work if you wear the sorting hat, don't you? They exchange a mischievous look. They are opposites, but they make an ideal couple. Jed is in the music business, but can be very sane and sensible at times, and Liam is a music teacher with a tendency to be outrageous and flamboyant. And while Jed stacks a dishwasher with the precision of a Swedish architect, Liam throws things in like an ape on crystal meth. But I trust them both with my life. I'm so nervous, I say flustered. I've had to learn a lot of songs very quickly. My vocal range might not be up to the job, and Christoph Helmuth, the Swiss maestro, is supposed to be one of the most demanding in the whole of Europe. The audience will have unbearably high expectations, and never mind trying to fit into these ridiculous theatrical costumes. They look at one another as though I'm being melodramatic, which I am. I'm terrified. My mother was an extremely successful opera singer. What if I can't fill her shoes? It's about confidence, Liam says softly. He gives me a gentle, reassuring look. You've got this, Connie Cooper. You have nothing to worry about, my lovely. Thanks. I smile, grateful for the reassurance. But it's like telling water not to be wet, and at that moment my phone bursts to life, causing me to drop it. Oh, Connie, babe, you really must stop dropping your phone every single time Matteo calls, says Liam. Surely you can't be that nervous around him. No, I say, scooping down to pick it up. Of course not. I jab at the phone, trying to press to accept and accidentally reject the call. It immediately rings again and my fingers have turned to mush. This is so stressful. I take a beat. You've got this, Connie Cooper. He's just a man. A magnificent, dark-haired, brooding, multilingual overachiever with the instincts of an MI5 special operative, the brains of a Nobel Peace Prize winner, and the looks of a movie star. Why be so nervous? Oh, hi, I say, trying to sound light and casual, the sort of woman who doesn't sound on the edge of a substantial breakdown each time the very new love of her life calls her. Did you drop your phone again? Matteo says with a hint of amusement in his voice. Thank God he can't see me. My face has gone full coal furnace. No, yes, it's slippery. Jed and Liam are shaking their heads at me. Unfortunately, they've had to witness this low-level deception more than once. Slippery? Matteo asks. Yes, just like my slide into insanity. So, how are things in LA? I say, anxious to change the subject. Jed and Liam inch forward in their seats. They too are intrigued to hear how things are going in LA. I'm going to be working in the studio for the next week or so and might not get another chance to ring. How are you feeling about the Sinfonia tour? He asks. I know you have some doubts about fitting in, but you'll be great. I know you will. His comforting words immediately put me at ease. We talk for an hour and I ask him all about LA and the artists he's working with, and he asks about my dad and how the hiking weekend at the lakes went with his new girlfriend, Madge. It's a development that I'm still trying to process. It keeps me from obsessing about our relationship and whether I'm merely Matteo's rebound or, preferably, whether I'm his the one. But more than that, our time together in Benidorm was so short I've convinced myself it would be insane to expect him to commit to being exclusive with each other at such an early stage. If only I were brave enough to ask him. But of course, that would cause any man to run screaming for the hills, like my last boyfriend did. Say hello to Jed and Liam for me, he says as our conversation draws to a close. I glance over, smiling. They're still on the sofa, listening in, riveted. I entertain the idea of introducing them to a new hobby. Crocheting hats or making their own sausage or something. Liam fancies Matteo as much as I do because he's so ridiculously good looking, which is something I'm absolutely not going to do anymore. Judge Matteo on his superior looks. As soon as I finished in the studio, I'm taking a few days off. Would you have time in your busy schedule to fly out to see me in Vegas? Matteo asks suddenly. I instantly drop the phone, again cutting him off in the process. Jed swoops down to pick it up and he gives me a baffled look and calmly rings Matteo back, handing it over when he picks up. Matteo is laughing. So, is that a yes? Oh, my life. Just the thought of seeing him again is knee-trembling. Yes, I'd love to, yells Liam across the room. Just like that, I've arranged to go and meet the absolute love of my life in Las Vegas. Later that evening, the full reality of it all hits me as I stand at the mantelpiece in our living room. I go over the plan once more in my head and I leave Newcastle tomorrow for a 1-week tour with the Sinfonia. We're performing in 3 major cities in the north of England. First is Manchester, then York, then back to Newcastle, and immediately afterwards I resume my residency at Voices in Benidorm. The management are happy to be super flexible with me whilst I juggle all of my singing commitments. God, it sounds so exciting. I can barely believe it's me who I'm thinking about. I blow my cheeks out at the thought of the mammoth task ahead. I will need decent clothes for Las Vegas, stand-out, fashionista-type attire, not the elaborately bouffant gowns I'll be wearing for the Sinfonia, and not the tiny stripper pole dancing costumes the Dollz insist I wear in Benidorm as part of the look, and definitely not the dowdy, dark, wine-stained rags I've been moping around in for 2 years since my beloved mother passed away. Oh, my mother. My lovely, kind, funny, talented mother, whom I'll never hear singing ever again. I still can't believe that I'll be singing on the same stage that she did, with the same orchestra wearing similar costumes and performing to the same audiences, but she'll never see me up on stage. and I'll never get to hear what she thinks of me, or see her, or speak to her, or hug her ever again. A wave of grief engulfs me from out of nowhere, and I take a deep breath in and place my hand gently on my chest as it washes over me. Sadness, pain, panic, despair, dread. I close my eyes and I let the images of my mother lying ill in a hospital bed fly around. I tried to conjure up some nicer images from when we were younger, before she got sick, before our lives fell apart, but they're not coming yet. My dad says they will come back to me over time. He says how much time it takes is different for everyone. I feel like I've been waiting around in a numb haze forever. But at least, thanks to the Dollz and Matteo careering unexpectedly into my life, I have started feeling emotions again. I'm no longer the empty husk that I've been for the past 2 years. Just the thought of Matteo creates a warm feeling deep within. I focus on remembering his kind eyes and the smile that lights up his entire face. It seeps through my bones like an elixir, helping the fear and dread recede until I feel back to normal. I open my eyes at the sound of the door creaking. "So we've had a long talk about it," says Liam, coming into the living room with 2 glasses of wine in his hands, followed by Jed. Liam gives me a glass. I'd take a guess at what he's talking about, but really, it could be anything from creamed asparagus to a colonic steam. "We're celebrating again?" I ask. I shouldn't be surprised. Last night, we stayed up until 2 in the morning celebrating their 1-month anniversary as a newly engaged couple. At this rate, I'm going to turn up to the Symphonia tomorrow looking like I spent the night sleeping rough under a bridge. "Our pre-moon spree will be held in," Liam says, settling down his wine glass and drum-rolling his hands on the sofa to mine the reveal for all the drama he can get. It must be somewhere super glamorous. Thailand, Fiji, maybe it's one of those ultra-high, super expensive jobbies in Dubai. Liam and Jed have sparkles coming out of their eyes. They have also been to the dentist for some extra bright whitening treatment. I'm dazzled. They look at each other triumphantly. "Las Vegas!" they yell in union. "Oh, shit. The most romantic place on earth. The city where dreams are made. The city of love and gay rights." Liam sighs lovingly at Jed. I avert my gaze whilst they take a moment to stare into each other's eyes and clasp hands melodramatically. "Lovely, so lovely." I have a smile plastered on my face. "When exactly?" "I know when. Why am I bloody bothering?" They turn their huge, excited eyes towards me as though I'll never in a million years guess. "In 2 weeks, they say in unison. "As in roughly the same time as I'll be going to visit Matteo?" "Yes!" Jed shouts. "Isn't it bloody marvellous? You'll be there anyway, so you may as well be on best woman duty. It'll kill 2 birds with 1 stone, and it'll save you a fortune on the flights." So much for their anti-animal cruelty stance, but I do appreciate them thinking of my poor finances. I watch them jump up and down, hugging each other. It's quite the conundrum. Of course I'm excited for them. That goes without saying. But why, when I have not yet spent more than 2 nights with Matteo, and we are still very much finding our feet with each other, do they think muscling in on my week of carnal passion is a good idea? "And you've given Dubai some thought too, have you?" I ask. They nod. "And the Maldives? Diving with turtles? Or what about a Caribbean Disney cruise?" Jed is folding his arms. I must tread very carefully. Liam has also begun to raise an eyebrow. Oh God, what will Matteo think? "Las Vegas will be perfect. So perfect," I backtrack. "Well, Matteo did invite us, and we thought, as best woman, it'd be easier for you to organise all of the activities for the pre-moon, because he can pull a few strings, get us a few celebrity meet and greets." I couldn't even organise my way to the local shop this morning. It had been my turn to nip out for full-fat milk to steam in our awesome coffee machine that you need a PhD to operate, but I was daydreaming about the last time Matteo kissed me. Before I knew it, ducks were quacking, and I'd arrived at the park 4 miles in the opposite direction, and as for Matteo pulling a few strings, I wouldn't dream of asking him. And if I'm being picky, their invite from Matteo was to LA, not to Las Vegas. I spend the next half an hour listening to Liam and Jed excitedly list a range of must-do activities and must-see shows for me to organise, whilst we toast their good health, wealth and happiness. I have no idea how I'm going to balance my romantic break with such an extravagant week, or how I'm going to afford it. Thankfully, my phone rings. Will you be needing a room in the hotel? It might not have an ensuite though, and you will definitely have to share it with Cherry or Liberty. It's Tash. As usual, she is carrying on a conversation as though we have been talking it through for hours. Hotel? Where? Benidorm? Maybe Tash has forgotten that I have an apartment of my own above Voices. Vegas, babes. Where else? My heart has stopped. I wait for it to restart. It's forgotten that it's supposed to thump blood regularly to my brain, and my brain that is playing cruel tricks on me. Vegas? I gulp. As in Las Vegas in America? Yes, Nancy needs to know if you're staying with us for tax and visa purposes. She's putting it all on expenses. Oh my God, what is happening? How did you know I was going to Vegas? I've literally just got off the phone with Matteo an hour ago. I haven't even told my dad that I'm going. All is revealed. Why, Jed just posted on Instagram that you were all going to Las Vegas on their pre-menstrual spree thingy, Tash says. Has he? I say tentatively. And obviously they invited us, but we're all too skint. Cherry is almost a single mother. Liberty has discovered vampire facials. Big Sue and Big Mand are worried about the carbon footprint. So combining work with pleasure ticks a box for all of us. I'm still not following, but make a mental note to check up on Cherry. So I rang Nancy and she's arranged for us to do a couple of gigs whilst we're there. Why would Tash do that? Nancy, our agent, is not to be messed with. Once bookings are made, they are set in stone. I mean, we told her you'd be bang up for it, but Nancy just needs you to confirm first. It means our flights, food, accommodation would all be free, otherwise none of us could afford to go. She mistakes my silence for being overjoyed. Tash squeals with excitement. She has no idea that she is ruining my big, special romantic week. Instead of bonking and existing in a general loved-up haze, I'll now be working. I'll be singing in clubs whilst trying to keep up with the Dollz, the world's heaviest drinking chain smokers. And in between, I have the world's most elaborate pre-moon to organise and execute. Deep fucking breaths. Thanks, Tash. That's really good of you. And Nancy. My voice sounds distant, as though I am on a sort of polite automatic pilot. But I haven't got time to do gigs as well as the pre-moon for Jed and Liam. I was hoping to see Matteo that week. And you will see him, Connie babes. You will. But what's the alternative? None of us get to share Jed and Liam's big week. They'll be gutted. Tash lets the silence hang between us for a moment. What a guilt trip. How can I say no? Okay, but only if the gigs don't get in the way of me spending time with Matteo, I say reluctantly. Tash whoops eagerly. Yay, it's going to be savage. I'll tell Nancy you've confirmed. Savage? Oh my God. Now I have even less time to prepare myself for the Las Vegas trip. And even though I could really do with the extra money, I could really do without the extra pressure. My spirits plummet at the thought of what might lie ahead. I will just have to make sure I get some time with Matteo alone before it all turns savage. I'll just have to be firm with everyone and learn to say no. All the dolls are proper buzzing. We might need some of those upmarket showgirl giant feathers and swinging nipple tassels. This is getting worse by the second. Either way, it's going to be one hell of a messy one. We cannot wait. Sweet Jesus. Anyway, gotta bounce, babes. Good luck with that snobby Sinfonia lot on tour. You'll need it. I've heard they're a complete nightmare. Chapter 3. I must warn Matteo, I must, but I can't. 1, he's deeply immersed in the creative process right now, and 2, I'm a wimp. I think he'll love the surprise element, says Jed to Liam. They're discussing my situation. Imagine when he turns up to collect her and there's all of us standing there top to toe in full Barbie and Ken. This is the first I'm hearing of the trip being themed. Of course it would be Barbie, of course it would. Wait until you see my white faux fur coat and headband, Jed says to me excitedly, now thrusting a phone showing Pinterest photos of Ken outfits into my face. Oh, Matteo will absolutely die, says Liam. Yes, he might. And he did invite us out to LA to see him, Liam says, casually rewriting history. It's basically next door to Vegas anyway. Could a 4-hour drive be considered basically next door, though? Could it? Jed nods. He's not fully on board with Liam's obvious crush and has sensibly not allowed him to switch out his Harry Styles for Matteo lookalikes as his free pass. And it makes perfect sense for us to be in Las Vegas, Liam continues. It doesn't, but go on. I mean, it's not like we'll take up all of your time, says Jed. We wouldn't dream of it, honey. But Matteo might have an issue with all the Dollz piling over with all their drama. As much as I adore them, there can be a bit of a handful, especially Liberty and her wandering vagina. He shrugs casually. He's not wrong there. I too adore all 5 of the Dollz and their loud, vampish, uncontrollable thirst for cocktails and anything on 2 legs. But not when I was hoping to spend a quiet week trying to impress my new lover with how low maintenance and sane I can be. And it's celebrity season in Vegas right now, so who knows who we'll bump into, Liam says excitedly before fixing me with a hopeful look. By bump into, he means who Connie will go to the ends of the earth, sell a lung or a similar vital organ, do whatever is necessary to arrange for us to meet. Jed and Liam are famous micromanagers, meticulous to a clinically obsessive degree, but worse than that is their absolute devotion to the flamboyant pop icon Harry Styles. I'm going to have to find out if he's in town, otherwise I will never hear the end of it if we miss a sighting of him at a club. But one thing I do know for sure is that I am not asking Matteo for such a huge favour on top of everything else. Maybe Nancy will have an idea. While I get started folding the huge heavy gowns, a string of WhatsApps from the Dollz group that pings into my phone. Ping, ping, ping. Tash wants to know if I can get my fella to pull some strings and get us a table at the Bellagio. Not to do any eating, just for the gram. She warns Cherry not to be messy if they share a hotel room. She's sick of her rolling down her knickers 4 times a day with each costume change and just leaving them lying around on the floor like discarded croissants. Liberty is wondering how we will feel about pink Stetson hats, pink glitter thigh-high boots, and pink Daisy Dukes for all the Barbie-themed week as she and Cherry are doing the outfits, and to leave it all to them. She will tot up how much they spend and send me the total. She also reminds us that we will be getting off with as many American billionaires as she can manage, especially if they have handlebar moustaches that she says she is craving. God help us. I hope Matteo is understanding after I tell him I'll be working during the 1 week he's arranged for us to be together, and that I'll also be dressed as Barbie when I'm not in my stripper outfits, and our dates will be centred around trying to track down a variety of pop stars at every opportunity. How did this happen? A message from Matteo flashes up. It says he will be switching off his phone for most of the week, which means he can only call me at random times, depending on how long the recording sessions last. He's working with a notoriously difficult producer called Birdie, who is well known in the music industry for being a perfectionist and a tyrant. She doesn't like the creative process to be interrupted by phones pinging or by the toxic radio waves they produce. He uses an exclamation mark to signify that perhaps this is a crazy notion, but it's the word she that pops out and has me all afluster. My brain immediately leaps to unsubstantiated and wildly inappropriate conclusions. Matteo then sends a short follow-up voice note to say that he is really looking forward to seeing me. He's planned lots of exciting sightseeing trips and cool places to go. I listened to this lovely voice a few times before I frantically Googled music producers in LA called Birdie. Oh my effing word. She's stunning. A glamour puss with curves in all the right places and a face that's so perfect. She could be the next Gen AI. She has a string of accolades and industry awards. There are photos galore of her with famous rap artists and singers at all the cool parties. Who's this goddess? Asks Liam on his way to the kitchen. Gorgeous hair. Is that neon coral or salmon pink, would you say? She is Birdie Dupont. She's a French music producer in LA. I say, trying not to sound too jealous. Of course she'd be cool and sexy and French. She's probably flicking her Gaulois cigarette holder and twanging her fishnet stockings at Matteo as we speak. But I fully trust him to resist the temptation and not give her stockings a second glance. Good thing Matteo is locked away in a music studio, says Liam, sounding relieved. I wouldn't want that LA bombshell getting her hands on him. They're working together, I say, a lump forming in my throat. They'll be shut off from the whole world, locked in a studio, making hot Latino music together. Liam looks at the image of Birdie on my phone and then back up at me. He looks devastated. Deep breaths, deep breaths. Early the next morning, Liam drops me off at the Symphonia with my huge suitcases. I had a restless night, tossing and turning, images plaguing my dreams of Birdie running off with Matteo in slow motion, hand in hand, through a cornfield at sunset. She was perfectly naked and wearing only a large floppy sun hat and a huge satisfied smile. "There you go, that's all of them," Liam says, rubbing his hands together like a cabbie. "And try not to obsess about Matteo and Birdie. She seems very professional to me. She clearly has a thing for dark and brooding musicians, not for dark and brooding music producers. And just because she's a hot-blooded Frenchie and he's a hot-blooded Latino doesn't mean they'll have amazing chemistry or be instantly attracted." I pinch the bridge of my nose. "Please stop talking, Liam." It's almost as though he is as upset about it as me. He's talked of nothing else. Has he also imagined Birdie blowing smoke rings at Matteo whilst lounging around in her sexy French underwear? And just because they are both insanely good looking and locked away together in a creatively emotive and sensual environment does not mean that one thing might lead to another. Liam looks at me with pleading eyes, almost begging me to agree. "You're right, it doesn't," I tell him, "because Matteo isn't the sort to cheat. After all, I did rather find out the hard way, and by hard I mean, of course, embarrassing. I was hurling accusations left and right at the time. I could cringe thinking about it. Not after that whole business with his cheating ex-fiancée." "Did you manage to lock in that exclusivity agreement with him?" That's the crucial element. Liam asks as though he's negotiating a peace deal in the Middle East. "Have you landed on a relationship status?" I shake my head glumly. Liam instantly rallies. "Okay, let's just focus on the positives. In less than 2 weeks, we will all be in Las Vegas together, where you can firm up the fine print. The sooner we get you on this bus, Symphonia tour done, and back home again, the better." I stare down at the many cases in a daze as exhaustion sweeps through me. 3 are full of costumes, the other my day clothes, hair and makeup things. Across the car park, 2 coaches are waiting outside the enormous shell-like structure that is the Glass House, International Centre for Music in Newcastle. Ripples from the River Tyne are reflecting off its mirrored panels, and hordes of people are hurrying to pile suitcases and garment bags into the coach's holds before scrambling to get on board with a multitude of musical instrument-shaped cases. Within seconds, the buses have fired up, the engine's ready to go, and I feel panic rising from my stomach. Liam grabs my hand instinctively. His eyes tell me he knows exactly what's going on. "Breathe," he whispers to me. "Just breathe through it." Without warning, tears sting my eyes, causing me to take huge gulps of air into my lungs. "Maybe this wasn't such a good idea," I say. "What's the point if my mum won't even get to see me?" I bury my head into Liam and unexpectedly burst into tears. I can't do this. I have too many memories of watching my mother perform on stage. It's all too raw, too fragile. Liam envelops me in a hug. It's warm and comforting, and he says nothing as I soak his jumper with my tears. I can feel 2 coachfuls of eyes on me. "Beep, beep." I can't do it. I can't go. I manage between quiet sobs. What if I'm not good enough? What if they expect me to be as good as she was? "There's nothing to be gained by letting them all down at the last minute," Liam says calmly. "Just go and do your best. It's not like they'll boo you off stage or any—" He stops talking because he has possibly just remembered the time not so long ago that I was actually booed off stage for crying too much while singing Adele covers. It was a tough gig. Cubes of sheep's cheese and many garlic-infused olives were thrown at the stage too. We all thought it was harsh, but Jed said that he'd be annoyed too if it was his wedding. "You're just tired. What do we always say? Face the fear and do it anyway." Liam says, "You'll be amazing. Remember to smile and you'll light up the stage. You've got this, Connie. You auditioned for years. You might as well give it a go." He's right. I spent too long trying to follow in my mother's footsteps as a classical singer just to feel closer to her. I temporarily lost sight of what I might want from life. At least if I give this a go and am no good at it, I can tick it off the career goals list. Beep! Someone makes a loud